Game design. That's what I'm talking about today, and every other day too. Hopefully you think that's interesting. If not, why are you watching this video? But some of you might be thinking to yourself, I don't know if I like game design. What even is game design? Well, hopefully you did think that, because that's what this episode's about. I should preface this by saying that everything that comes out of my mouth is opinions. Well, that and saliva. I am saying what I think. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you have evidence, one way or the other, you're basically obligated to share it with me. Though I'm not really sure how you could have evidence of something so vague and semantic-esque. If you're an expert or a professional, please refute or confirm my claim one way or the other. I want to share this information because I want to further mankind's understanding of games, not because I want to be right. So, what is game design? Well, let's break that up into its two core words, game and design. Let's start with design, since it's the verb. Design refers to a plan on how something is going to be, usually an object rather than an event. However, design can also refer to the actual creation of that object. As far as I know, graphic design is people designing actual objects, not deciding what they're going to look like. Correct me if I'm wrong, graphic designers. We even call completed images designs, sometimes. So clearly the term is a bit vague in and of itself. But as far as what game design means, it seems to refer to the planning and creation of games. Now then, game. What exactly is being designed here? The game, right? But the whole game? Games include many different parts, such as sounds, images, scripts, 3D models, music, engines, mustard, mayonnaise, ham, cheese, lettuce, bread.
The point is, can you really count all the non-edible things on that list as part of game design? Is someone who designs games simply someone who makes components for games to be made with? Because if so, we ought to have a word for that. It's game developer.
A game developer is someone who works to develop a game, who does any sort of work for it. Again, if anyone has a different opinion or an actual fact, please correct me. So it's more specific than just working on the game, isn't it? If it is, then what part of the process is it? I would say, personally, that game design is the construction of the mechanics of the game. But we should make sure that isn't tied into any other aspects of game creation. So, to facilitate that, let's look closer at what game means. When I refer to game design and the topics that come with game design, you're probably thinking of video games. Does designing board and card games count as game design? I would say that it does, and since those games don't require any programming, I think it's safe to say that programming and game design are distinct, separate things. What about a text-based adventure like Zork? Completely devoid of art, but I'd still say there's a fair amount of game design in that. Same goes for a game like Bejeweled with absolutely no plot. Definitely some pretty heavy game design going on there. So if game design isn't based on art or writing, what other things on that list could it be tied to? Mustard, mayonnaise.
No, before that.
Sounds, music. Oh, well, yeah, there are games without sound, I'm sure. Can't really think of any right now. I think it's pretty clear that the person who designed Tetris still used a fair bit of game design, even if they hadn't used music for it. Oh, and board games and card games, again. Images, engines, scripts, 3D models. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. So, are there any games that don't include any of these things? Yes, definitely. Some games that fall into this category are outdoor games, as well as simple pen and paper games. Outdoor games like tag and hide and seek are pure game design. Really simple game design, but design nonetheless. Paper games like tic-tac-toe and hangman are, again, pretty much entirely game design. Hell, Dungeons & Dragons is pretty much the holy grail of non-assisted game design in terms of depth and complexity. Sports are a great example of non-electronic, soundless, programless, plotless, imageless games. I would say that all those extra resources like images, sounds, and programming are just ways of expressing core game design. You could easily incorporate other mediums as well. Game design is primarily the concept of how a game works. Everything else is just how that concept is represented. This is what a game design document is, a description of how all the pieces in the game will fit together and interact with each other. Then it goes on to include what resources will be needed to express that core game design. So if we were to see the game design document for a game like Angry Birds, it would probably illustrate the main concept, use birds to get at pigs hidden in structures, and then go on to illustrate the different types of birds, pigs, and material that would be needed to be created for the game. Level design would also count as game design, but I wouldn't be surprised if the programmers did that for that game. So what does a game designer do? Well, I know they're going to start out by describing the game's concept, and then going more in depth on the mechanics, but after that, the day-to-day work once the production's well underway? I don't really know. And it bothers me that I don't understand the basic responsibilities of the job that I expect to hold for the majority of my life. If anyone out there has a better understanding of what a game designer does, I would be dying to hear it. And again, if anyone has any differing opinions or stuff to add on to my argument, please feel free. Sorry if this is kind of remedial information for most of you. I just think it's really important that everyone's on the same page for this sort of thing. And I spent too much time explaining to people what I mean when I say computer game design. People assume it has to do with programming or art. More often programming, just because the word computer's in there. Now I can just point them at this video, and you can as well. Anyway, you can all expect to see many more episodes from me. In fact, if I don't release another video in a month, please find me, hunt me down, probably in reverse order, and make me write it. I do not want this to be another project that I start and never finish. I care about this a lot. See you next whenever. I don't even know. Design refers to some type of... Design refers...